While reactions have been very divided about Elon Musk's planned takeover of Twitter, and voices are either pro or against Musk, it's difficult to find a nuanced conversation about this topic. To simply dismiss Musk and his ideas because he is a billionaire is not productive, and neither is blindly believing his every claim. The goal of this video is to have a closer look at how Musk is proposing to fix Twitter, the challenges that he might face along the way, and to encourage a more nuanced discussion about the problems of social media being a de facto town hall. The concern over one person, especially the richest man on the planet, owning a platform that has become as important to public discourse as Twitter, is a valid one. However, it is also important not to only look at Musk as a personality, but at the actual content of his proposed changes on Twitter. He does highlight valid points and problems on the platform, such as the algorithm lacking transparency, spam bots, and a lack of an edit button, among others. While a missing edit button is unique to Twitter, the other issues he is talking about are inherently problematic on every social media and content creation platform. Making the algorithm public and open source might be as easy as putting it on GitHub for everyone to see. Not only would it be visible to other competitors, it might ultimately end up hurting Twitter itself as a business, and then in turn Musk as the owner. He does not seem to have any plans for what to do with the algorithm beyond that suggestion. How algorithms work nowadays on social media and other platforms is highly problematic, because by analysing what kind of content the user likes to engage with, they reinforce people's confirmation biases by creating echo chambers and showcasing similar content to that the user already consumes. However, this does not seem to be the concern for Musk, as his worries seem to exist mostly with the random changes and interferences the algorithm and Twitter staff is apparently making to users' tweets. It is the lack of transparency of such changes that Elon is trying to fix, and not the inherent problem that an algorithm such as Twitter's creates. With the algorithm learning from, reacting to, and encouraging users' engagement on the platform, scam bots and fake accounts are known to distort and manipulate this process. Musk sees this as one of the biggest problems of Twitter and has vowed to defeat spam bots or die trying. Removing spam bots and fake accounts would definitely be a big win for Twitter, but that solution would also be needed on every other social media and content platform. Facebook and YouTube are struggling with this problem as well. This raises the question if it is really the better solution to buy Twitter to solve this problem on one platform, instead of investing time and money into a technology company that finds a solution and would provide a service to fix this on all platforms. And it might be in fact the issue of spam bots and fake accounts on Twitter that will make or break the deal. Musk has now officially threatened to back out from his bid if Twitter does not provide accurate data on how many of the over 200 million user accounts are fake. While Twitter has repeatedly provided an estimate that around 5% of their accounts might not be real users, Elon Musk claims that this number exceeds 20% and would therefore lower the value of the company, in which case he'd refuse to pay the full amount of his offer. So if Elon is not getting the information he wants from the platform, he would walk away from the merger agreement, which could incur a breakup fee of $1 billion for him. What is interesting is the language that Musk uses when he talks about the importance of Twitter for democracy by functioning as a broadly inclusive town hall.
Civilizational risk is decreased the more we can increase the trust of Twitter as a public platform.
To put this sentence into perspective, Twitter had 229 million users as of Q1 of 2022. Of those, 77 million came from the United States with a population of 329 million. When such big statements and words are used to make a point, it is always important to keep the context in mind and look at the facts. His rhetoric here is an emotional one. The same kind of talking style you would hear in a political campaign, and as always it is important to keep an open mind, but still think critically about what is being said. Elon calls himself a free speech absolutist, and that is why it is important to him that people have both the reality and the perception that they're able to speak freely within the bounds of the law. His point here is really important. Free speech does mean that people are able to say things that you don't like, and that you are able to say things that other people might not like. And a small caveat here, Twitter is a global platform that already has to operate within the legal systems of hundreds of countries, many of which have different laws on speech from one another. It's obvious Elon is talking about an American take on free speech, but how does this translate to a global platform already operating outside of America? The last 2 years of a global pandemic was not only a pandemic of a virus, but also of misinformation that spread especially effectively throughout social media to all parts of the world and has cost lives. It is not as simple a matter as Elon portrays it here. Misinformation and fake news are just as much of a threat to democracy and civilization, as Musk puts it, as an algorithm that feeds off of enraged engagement on social media platforms.
You know, what's his goal where he talks about the openness? How does he feel about something that says vaccines kill people, or that Bill Gates is tracking people? Is that one of the things he thinks should be spread? So it's not totally clear what he's going to do.
We humans have argued, discussed, and debated with and among each other long before the internet. This is something that needs to be preserved, but it can't be denied that social media companies are responsible for the harm that is done on their platforms in the form of misinformation and hate speech. Relying only on the laws of a country, which have not fully adopted to such a new and fast changing technologies like algorithms and social media in general, is not enough to prevent active harm from being done. What has been keeping these platforms in check so far were the requirements of advertisers. Roughly 90% of Twitter's revenue comes from advertising. Like what happened with YouTube, if a company does not like what kind of content their advertisements are shown with, they will ultimately stop working with the platform, and that will impact the company's revenue and reputation. This is something that Elon Musk wants to get rid of, specifically to avoid having to deal with advertising policies that dictate the way the platform will moderate its content. So it is very clear that Elon not only wants to own Twitter, he wants to have full control over how content on the platform is dealt with. This is problematic for two reasons. One, Elon buying Twitter, making it a private company and removing all ads, will leave no one to hold him accountable for how the platform deals with its content. And two, besides the idea to make commercial users and government authorities pay for the platform use, he has not proposed a valid alternative to make up for the almost 90% of Twitter's income that would be lost by removing ads. Another big change he would make would be to introduce an edit feature that has already been requested by Twitter users for many years. While it seems like a small change that would improve the user experience on the platform, this too requires some critical thought. Considering how users engage with one another on Twitter, a simple edit button without any further thought put into it would remove the author's accountability for their tweets. Someone could tweet a horrible message or hate speech and under pressure of looming consequences, use the edit functionality to make the tweet seem harmless, removing evidence. On the other hand, someone could tweet a fantastic claim that gets thousands of retweets, and then the original author edits the tweet into something very different. What becomes of these retweets? The addition of the edit button is one of Elon's biggest and most popular selling points, yet Twitter itself is already working on an edit button for a while now. Due to the reasons just mentioned, the implementation of this feature requires careful consideration of how an edit button might impact the accountability and discourse on the platform. As Jay Sullivan, Twitter's GM of Consumer and Revenue Products, explains in this thread. Without things like time limits, controls, and transparency about what has been edited, edit could be misused to alter the record of public conversation. Elon surely brings many interesting ideas to the table, and the debates this potential takeover has sparked are important ones to have. We use social media every day of our lives, and it has become a part of our daily routines to take in and engage with strangers' thoughts, opinions, and ideas. This by definition will cause problems, because humans are emotional beings. We all live in our echo chambers, we all have a level of confirmation bias, we all have beliefs and ideas about which we can get emotional and upset about. A platform facilitating this kind of exchange is also responsible for the content, potential harm and damage it can do. Not everyone plays by the rules, people have agendas and sometimes malicious intent. Free speech has to be protected, but so does the safety of the people engaging on the platform. Where does one end and the other begin? The ideas that Elon Musk has presented on how he wants to improve Twitter are important ones to talk about, but while he has shown his genius over and over again with companies like PayPal, SpaceX and Tesla, the solutions he worked on before were solved with numbers, with maths and physics. His service, rockets or cars either worked or they didn't. The challenges he faces with Twitter are far more subjective, namely how more than 200 million human beings interact with each other on an interpersonal and emotional level. A solution to this is surely needed, but it is not as simple as people think it is or how Musk presents it to be, and this is what we should question and think about critically. It is good to be open to new and daring ideas, but when someone who has not had any experience with solving these kinds of problems presents a very simple solution to a very complex and nuanced issue, we need to get our critical thinking hat on and have a good look at what is going on. It is also important to keep in mind that no one is immune to confirmation bias and echo chambers, not even the richest man on the planet. I hope you enjoyed this new production. Be sure to let us know your thoughts and opinions about this discussion in the comments down below. Of course, share it, leave a like if you want to support the channel, and if you haven't, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.